I'm very much looking forward to today's and tomorrow's events. Just looking at the schedule, we've got some really fantastic plenary speakers. I'm really looking forward to hearing all of them, in particular Emily Bell this afternoon. But also I think really importantly we have some really great emerging scholars. And I'm delighted to see so many of them on the conference schedule. And I think really we should pay tribute to Tamsin and Mario and Philip and the others who've ensured that's happened. Just if I could, if you'll bear with me and let me bore you for another minute or two, I wanted to say just a few words about disinformation and democratic disorder. I don't need to tell you, because you're all experts, that this is one of the most challenging issues of our time. Democracy really is under threat around the world, and critical media studies plays an essential role, I think, in asking the questions that need to be asked around the role that media plays and the role that indeed academics can play in upholding democracy, in asking the tough questions, in insisting on accountability and transparency, the rule of law, and these aren't abstract constructs. We would have thought the most robust democracy in the world was the United States in 2016. I'm not so sure we think that today. Democracy is under threat right around the world. Disinformation and misinformation are, I think, key to the breakdown in trust between citizens, those that seek to govern, and what we might consider the fifth estate, or those that seek to hold power to account. Social media has a part to play in that. Rogue actors and rogue agents have a part to play in that. It's a complex enough area. I mentioned earlier that I don't like the term fake news, and I think Emily will probably expand on this later today. Indeed, Claire Warden has written extensively on this issue. We're very often not talking, first of all, about anything that's fake, and secondly, rarely is news. So I think the term itself, I would say, is contested. Probably the better phrase to think about is the weaponization of content. And that weaponization of information is probably, I think, really where I would start from if I was to describe what disinformation is and the threat it poses to democracy and to the rule of law and to the rights of minorities, migrants, women, transgender communities and so on, indeed even religious communities. In advanced democracies as well as in autocracies and emerging democracies and new democracies around the world. So I'm really looking forward to the papers. That's the special focus of the conference. It's certainly not the only focus. As we know, there are quite a few other areas that people will be speaking on. I'm hoping to get to as many sessions as I can. I'm really looking forward to hearing the papers. That's it for me. I hope you enjoy the next 2 days in Galway. It's a very small city. It's very easy to get around. It's very safe. I would make one recommendation if you have time. Fish and chips in McDonald's is kind of a tradition in Galway. There are other ones. That's the one that I would say you should definitely do. If you haven't already done it, a pint of Guinness is also something you probably should do. Anywhere on Key Street is good. Galway's very small and very safe, so you shouldn't have too much time finding somewhere that A, serves fish and chips and B, serves Guinness. And the third thing is, amazingly, it isn't raining. This really is amazing. It rains about 300 days a year in Galway. There are only 365 days in the year, but you never know which 300 days. This is the thing. And if you start out in the morning being sunny, it's guaranteed to rain by the end of the day. But for the last couple of weeks, it's been very nice. So hopefully the rain stays off for 2 more days, and you can enjoy Galway in the sunshine. I'm going to hand back to Philip. Thank you very much, and I hope to get a chance to speak to most of you over the next couple of days. Thank you.
Tom, you've got to tell me what's the best time to go to that shop, because we walked past it the other day and the queue was out the door. So, you know, fish and chip for breakfast maybe is the best time. Okay, so thank you again, Tom, for all the wonderful work you've done in framing our direction this year. It's such an important topic for us to be talking about, but also for you to think about ways that we can unpick these terms and really consider them in practical ways. So thank you very much. With that, I will now introduce our first speaker, Dr. Mario Minicello. He's a professor and co-director of FastLab. He is formerly or currently at the University of Newcastle in Australia, in between, here and there. But really, what he's most known for is his 30 years of work in reportage as an illustrator for the BBC, for The Guardian, and other media outlets. He wrote probably one of the most important books on illustration and reportage that has been written. And it's a great honour to have been working with him for a good part. We were talking about this for about 10, 15 years now. We have been working together. And one of the things that we know is that that I know and you will see, is that he finds ways to unpack visual landscapes to provoke us to think about what the nature of communication is. And so, with pleasure and honour, I give you Mario. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Tom. Thank you all for coming. So, without further ado, we are going to have a Q&A after this. I want to take you back to a time where there was no social distancing, clearly. Greater social cohesion, ways of learning together with each other, where words and pictures were really a way of experiencing the world and getting inside the media, getting inside the knowledge. Those of you who would go to university in my day, I'm actually quite an old man, I just look really good because of the Italian genes, would go to read for your degree. That is how you downloaded the information.